Welcome back to another video. Today, in honor of Valentine's Day, I'm going to show you how we can make these really nice heart-shaped sun catchers. So these are really pretty to put in your window so you can have the sunlight shining through and they kind of glow and they're really nice. So first things first, let's make sure we have everything we need from our kits. This craft does have a lot of materials, so we want to make sure we have everything ready. So the first thing you're going to need is some wax paper and lots of tissue paper, all the different colors. You'll need your 2 heart cardboard frames, and you'll also need, if you want to try to make this on your own, the 2 extra sheets in there. And these are just recycled cardboard from food boxes that I had at my house, so this is really great to use to recycle those things and make crafts out of them. And also with the tissue paper, if you have some leftover tissue paper from maybe the holidays, you got some gifts, you can repurpose it and use it to make this craft. So next you'll need white paint, a little bit of liquid glue, a piece of yarn or ribbon for the hanger. You'll need the cup of liquid starch, some water to wash your paintbrush, a pencil, and you might need some scissors. So let's make sure we have everything, make sure you have a good area to work, and let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is look at all of our tissue paper and start ripping up some small pieces. So we're just going to take it and rip them up. You can use big pieces, you can use little pieces. You could use all one color of tissue paper, you can use some multiple colors, which is what I'm gonna do. Whatever you think is gonna look best, go for it. Like I said earlier, if you have some extra tissue paper at home in different colors that you want to use, feel free to use that. I think it would look really nice in some other colors. So that could be something that you could explore and try out on your own. So I think I have enough tissue paper here, so I'm just going to push that aside, and if I end up needing more later, I can always rip some more. So I'm just taking my wax paper now and some of the liquid starch with my paintbrush. I'm just going to stir that up, and I'm going to start brushing the wax paper with a little bit of that liquid starch so that the pieces of tissue have something to stick to. And now I'm just going to start taking pieces and laying them down, not in any order, but just putting them down and then covering them, brushing them again with more liquid starch. So the starch is this solution that is used when you're doing your laundry, but we're using it as a purpose to stiffen this tissue paper so that when it comes off the wax paper, it'll be all one piece. So you want to make sure you use a good amount of the starch so that none of the tissue paper sticks to the wax paper, it just all comes off nice and together. So I'm just putting this, like I said, not in any pattern, but if you want to do a certain pattern, you want to do red on the outside, pink on the inside, or something like that, you can do whatever you think. And another thing to keep in mind when you're doing this is to layer the pieces of tissue over each other. So when we're taking it off, the tissue paper is so thin, we don't want it to rip. So you want to layer it a little bit so that it comes off all together. So as you start building up on your collage of tissue paper, you want to measure and see how big your paper heart is going to be, your cardboard heart frame. So you want to make sure that the tissue paper is going to cover enough space so that it can be glued inside of your heart frame, the cardboard frame. So every once in a while I'm going to add some tissue paper and then double check with the shape to make sure that I have enough there to fully fill in the heart. Now you may see here that there are a few holes in the tissue paper where they just don't overlap. So if you want to cover those up, you can, but it also looks kind of nice to leave them like that because you can get some extra sunlight shining through those spaces. But feel free to cover them up if you want, or whatever you like. So it looks like I'm just about there, but I need to add some more tissue paper along the very outside edge of the cardboard piece to make sure that my heart will stick to that side. So I'm just going to fill out a little bit more and then I should be there. So I'm just checking one last time to make sure my piece is big enough, and it looks like it is. So now I'm just doing one last brush of the starch on my piece to make sure that I have plenty on there. And then I'll be all done. Alright, so now we have finished putting our tissue paper on the wax paper, so we want to set this aside so that it dries completely, so that then we'll be able to easily pull it off the wax paper to use. So I'm going to set that right there to start drying. While we're waiting for that to dry, we can do the next step, which is to paint our cardboard heart frames white, just so that they look a little nicer. But before I do that, I'll show you how I made these hearts. So if you want, you can grab your cardboard pieces that are in your kits, or if you're at home and you didn't get a kit, you can just grab a sheet of cardboard, just the thin cardboard like from a snack box or something, cracker box, something like that. So grab your cardboard, grab a pencil, and grab your scissors, and I'll show you how we can make these heart frames. So the way I made these heart frames is I just cut a little piece of cardboard this is from a pasta box. And what I did was I cut it where there was already a fold, but if not, you can just make a fold in the cardboard. So what I have is my sheet like this. I'm going to fold it in half. While it's folded, I'm going to take my pencil and sketch out half of a heart. But I want to do it on the fold. So here's the fold. This is the outside. So the fold is right here. So I'm going to take my pencil and just sketch out a nice heart. Just like that. Okay, so now I have my heart here, and I'm going to grab my scissors and start cutting. Now the cardboard is pretty thick and it's a little tricky to cut, so you might have a grown-up help you if you need it. I'm just going to take my scissors carefully, watching out for my fingers, and I'm going to start cutting along the line that I drew. Okay, and then when I open it up, it's a nice heart. So now all we need to do is get the center out of here. So again, I'm going to fold it, and then I'm going to take my pencil again, and I'm going to make another heart inside here. So I want to leave enough room for the frame. So I'm going to start about here and just follow the edge of the cardboard heart like this. And you can make it a super thick edge, you can make it a really thin one, whatever you like. But I like to do about this size. Okay, and then again, I'm going to go in carefully with my scissors, watching out for fingers, and I'm going to cut out the middle to get that heart out. Alright, so then when I open it up, I have a nice heart with the center gone, just like that. For this craft, we have 2 of these so that we have a top and a bottom so that it sandwiches the tissue paper in between. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to go to my second piece of cardboard, fold it in half, put this piece that I already cut on the fold, and I'm going to trace it so that I can get the same shape so that they fit together as best as they can. And then while I'm here tracing, I did the outside and now I'll trace the inside so that I can just do the cutting one time. Okay? So it's not going to be perfect and it may not be exactly the same, but we're going to get it as close as can be. Oops. So now I'm going to take my scissors and just cut that out. Okay, and then I'll cut the inside part. And there I have my second heart. So then we'll see if these fit together. And there, that fits together pretty well. Now I have a little blue from the pasta box peeking out, but that's okay. You can always paint that if you like. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and paint this part of the cardboard, which is the part that's gonna show. We'll paint that part white. So I'm just grabbing my paintbrush and my white paint, and I'm gonna start painting these both white. So one thing you might notice when you're painting this cardboard is that the cardboard absorbs the paint really quickly, so the piece dries really quickly. So if you need to do a second coat because it's not as bright white as you want, you can go right in and do that pretty soon after you do the first coat, which is what I'm going to do for both of my pieces, just to make them look a little bit more bright. So I'm just doing the finishing touches here, making them look the way I want, and then I'm all done. So now I have both of the heart frames painted, so I'm going to set those aside with the wax paper and the tissue paper drying, and you can go away for a bit and come back when they're all dry and we can get on to the next step. So pause the video here. Once your things are dry, we can come back and finish the rest. If you want to speed up the drying process and you have a hairdryer at home, you can take a hairdryer and just carefully dry both items so that they dry faster if you want, or you can just go away, do something else, and then come back and they'll be dry. So now my piece feels like it's pretty dry, so I'm just going to start at one edge and start to peel off the tissue from the wax paper. Okay, so you want to do this really carefully so that you don't rip it. But it should come off fairly easy. If it's not starting to come off, then it might need to dry a little bit longer. See, some of the pieces are starting to come off, but I'll just try to get them all together. Okay, so I'm just going along the edge like this, just carefully lifting up, and you'll see a lot of the color bleeds through, but that's not the paper, that's just the color from the tissue paper. Okay, I'm almost all the way up. Okay, and here's our nice sheet of tissue paper. Alright, so now I have my piece all taken off. So what I'm going to do is take my heart here, and I'm going to fit it on the best place that covers it all. And what you want to do is trace out along the outside, not the inside of the heart, but the outside. So I'm going to take my pencil and just start tracing along my heart around the outside. And you might need two people. You might want to have someone help you hold the stencil while you outline, or the other way around, just to make it easier. Whatever's works. Okay, so I'm going to take this off and make sure I have a good outline, which I do. It may be hard to see, but I can see it, so I'm going to cut that out now. Okay, so I'm going to take my scissors and just follow the outline and cut out. And you want to be careful when you're cutting, or if a grown-up is helping you cut, because the paper is very thin, so it may tear. So you just want to be careful while you're cutting this out. Okay, so here's my heart all cut out. So now what we want to do is take it and glue it to our piece here. So before I said earlier, these two pieces may not fit together perfectly. So what we're going to do is put the whole thing together, and then after, if we have anything sticking out funny, we'll trim that later. But for now, what you're going to do is take your piece so that the white part, the painted part, is facing down. And then you're going to take your liquid glue and do a thin line of glue along the edge of my cardboard heart. You really don't need too much, just a nice line of it. Okay, and then I'm going to take my heart and I'm just going to press that right over it, and I'm going to try to line it up. Okay, and I'm going to just lightly press that down like that. Now I'm going to take my second heart, and this time we want the white part facing up. So I'm going to take this and add a line of glue to this as well. And again, you don't need much glue, just a nice line. And I'm going to turn it over and line that up with the rest of the heart and press it down like this. And see, we have some of that other heart peeking through, so we can trim that later, but first let's just get that on. Okay, make sure it's all pressed in, and then we want to set that aside to dry before we do any cutting. But it already looks really nice, so that's awesome. If you want to leave that little bit peeking through, you can, or once it's dried, you can always cut it. But the next thing we're going to do is do the ribbon. So to do this, we're going to need a little bit of glue to glue the ribbon together. What I want to do is take a little bit of glue to glue the ribbon together. Just a small amount. Oops. Like this, and just cross them over like that and glue those together. And then I'm going to put a little glue on whatever side I want to be the back. So I think I'll put it right here. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue right there. And then I'm going to take my ribbon and just press that into the glue. And if you want, you can use tape for this part. Our heart is almost done. We just want to let the ribbon finish drying with the glue on the back. and we want to let the frame dry. And once that's dried, we can clean up the edges here by cutting if you want. If you don't want, you can skip that. And if you didn't put a ribbon on because you just want to send it as a little card or Valentine, then you're pretty much done, and you can do whatever decorating or finishing you want to do. But for now, you can pause the video and wait for your piece to dry and then come back and do the finishing touches. So now my ribbon is all glued on there. So I'm gonna grab my scissors and just carefully trim along the outside of my frame here. Just like this, and I'm gonna have this be the front. So I'm just going on the front, and whatever I see sticking out on the front, I'm gonna cut. Okay, and that may mean that you're cutting some of the back piece a little bit like that, but that's okay. And there we have our perfect little heart. So now we're all done with our little Suncatcher heart. You can hang it up in your room, hang it up in a window, or you can send it out to someone you love, whatever you like. I hope you guys had fun with this, and I hope you have a great Valentine's Day. Thanks for watching. Bye!